I began to recall a legend I once heard in Soria, the region that has spawned this and many other mystical tales. As I tossed and turned, my mind reeled, and soon I could bethink me of nothing else. As sleeplessness has overtaken me, I now write this tale by candlelight to pass away the dreadful night. While I sit listening to the cursed chimes echo through the darkened woods that surround me, I shiver to think of the horrors the story invokes. Beware those who dare to read this account, for it rages with the unholy sorcery of forgotten ages. Soon the Angelus prayer will be heard in the monasteries of the Knights Templar. The spirits of the dead will commence, and the bell shall chime in the mountain's chapel. Beatriz had traveled to the area, seeking spiritual aid for a life-threatening illness. By God's grace she was cured, and Alonso, being a doubter, had begun to rethink his skepticism. What appeared to be a miracle for Beatriz had awakened both a curiosity and a fear of the supernatural within him. Henceforth, it has been said that on La Noche de Difuntos, the chapel bell rings out, and the spirits of the dead, wrapped in tattered shrouds, run wild on a frenzied hunt amongst the bushes and brambles. All creatures of the earth hide in terror that night, as the spectral wraiths wreak havoc across the land. The next day, footprints of bony skeletons can be seen in the snow. This is why the mountain has been named El Monte De Las Ánimas, and is the reason that I wanted to leave it before nightfall. On El Monte De Las Ánimas, he sputtered, paling and falling slowly back onto his seat. On El Monte De Las Ánimas. His eyes sank, and he continued in a hollow, broken voice. You know, because you've heard it 1,000 times, that in this city, in the whole of Castilla, they call me King of the Hunters. Not yet having been able to try my strength in combat as my ancestors did, I have occupied my time with this hobby, a mere illusion of war, but one I pursue with all the vigor of my youth. Ah! The rugs beneath your feet are the hides of beasts that have been slain by my hand! I know their lairs and their habits. I have fought them day and night, on foot and on horseback, alone and accompanied. No one can say that I have ever shied away from danger. Alonso took a long swig from his mug, his bloodshot eyes bulging. Another night, I would gladly ride out for that scarf, but on this night, oh, why should I hide it? Something in me has changed, and I am afraid. Do you hear it? The bells. They toll! The Angelus prayer has been sounded in San Juan del Duro, and the spirits of the mountain begin to raise their yellowing skulls from the undergrowth that covers their graves. The spirits. The mere sight of whom strike fear in the hearts of valiant men, freezing their blood and turning their hair white, before sweeping them away in a frenzied chase. Closing her eyes, she tried to sleep, but it was as if an unknown power was keeping her awake, leading her to new depths of tension and terror. This time, it was no illusion. The brocade door hangings rustled as they parted, and slow footsteps were heard on the carpet. The sound of each footstep was hushed, almost imperceptible, but continuous, and she heard their steady beats like slow crunches of dry wood or bone. They came closer, and then the sliding of her prayer stool being pushed away from her bedside. Beatrice uttered a sudden shriek as she buried herself in her bedclothes, hiding her head and trying not to breathe. The wind battered against the glass on the balcony. The water in the distant fountain splashed relentlessly. The barking of the hounds were magnified by the sweeping gales, and the knells of the city of Ossorio, some close, some far away, rang out mournfully for the spirits of the dead. It was then that in her horror, Beatrice began to see visions of ghostly riders in her mind's eye. The grotesque phantoms were skeletal and clad in the garb of the Knights Templar. On undead steeds they rode, with eyeless skulls staring blankly and horribly, as they swung spectral swords through the air, slaying all those they came across on the hillsides of Ossorio.